Hello, how's everyone doing? So I'll try to keep it brief here. But before I begin, I genuinely just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Mike for inviting me, all of the coaches for supporting me, and I got a bunch of my teammates from across the years here. So I'm honored to be here tonight. Thank you. Okay. So this is a program that I hold very near and close to my heart. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again for the rest of my life. Not because it sounds good, but because it's true. This program changed my life forever. Um, I was always determined to succeed from a young age. And as a young kid, I knew that I wanted to be successful, and I knew that I wanted to give back. I was raised on two key principles that I think have kind of formulated my approach to life. One, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And two, this one comes from my dad especially, is that if you see something wrong and you don't do something about it, you're worse. And so, growing up in the inner city of New York, I knew that there was a lot that was wrong and that I could somehow make a difference. How I would do that, I had no clue, but I promised myself sometime back in middle school that I would. Going into high school, I had no idea how I would achieve any of my goals, but I knew that college would be the best way to do it. The only thing was, if I did so, I would be the first in my family to attend college. And so, going into FDA, I had blind faith and determination. When I started playing lacrosse, it was actually more of a coincidence. I didn't go to FDA because I knew about Harlem lacrosse. I went to FDA because my older brother went there first. He played basketball, but he was about a foot taller than me. So I knew that I had to do something different, and FDA had a great lacrosse program, so I picked up the sport. I remember it was 10 years ago, back in 2014, in the fall time when I picked up a lacrosse stick for the first time. I walked into an info session, and afterwards, one of my Harlem lacrosse teammates taught me how to play lacrosse in exchange for $2 worth of snacks at the deli. So that's where it all began. When I first started playing lacrosse at FDA, Harlem lacrosse hadn't yet integrated into the high school program, and so I had the support from a lot of my teammates who had participated in the middle school who are here tonight. They taught me the ropes of the game, and as I continued to get better, we had a different source driving us. For them, they had participated, and they imagined themselves playing college lacrosse, but for myself, my goals were a lot shorter away from me. I wanted to win a city championship, have fun with my teammates, and experience a new way of life. Going into my junior year of high school, Harlem lacrosse expanded into the high school for the first time, and that's when one of my program directors, Coach Owen Van Arsdale, reached out to me and asked if I wanted to play college lacrosse. It was the first time since middle school that I had really thought about college, and I looked him in the eye right then and I said, of course. And so suddenly, 3 years after picking up a stick and making a promise to myself, I somehow found a way to go. The rest of those years feel like a blur, and again, don't want to take up too much time, but I'll try to cover everything that happened. I started playing lacrosse in my 9th grade year. I was new to the team and one of the worst people on the team, and would spend every day after school on the handball court playing until around 9 p.m. When college lacrosse became a reality, I knew that I wanted to go away and I would have the opportunity to go to boarding school. But before I did that, I wanted to win the city championship and establish the FDA program back home in New York. So that spring of my junior season, I was honored to be elected as a captain of my team, and I was also admitted into boarding school. And before I left, my teammates and I won a city championship. With that, I closed the first chapter of my lacrosse career, and I opened up the next one. I had no clue at the time, but after that, my life would begin to change rapidly. It was in September of 2017 where I would go to my boarding school for the first time. I had applied, never visited, but decided to go because I knew that it would somehow get me to college. So at 5 a.m. in September, my dad and I woke up with I don't even know how many bags and got on the train from New York all the way to PA to a small boarding school outside of Philly. From there, I would play lacrosse for 2 years, and in the fall of my senior year, the college question suddenly came up again. I had gotten this far, and I had to ask myself, what comes next and how do I get there? I remember going back to West Town early in August to figure that out, apply, speak to coaches, and I remember sending out about 40 emails and hearing back from maybe 2 coaches. I was devastated, I was a little bit discouraged, but I knew from my time at the handball courts and my time playing lacrosse that perseverance paid off. I did then what I've done most times. I've had a bit of a hiccup in my academic or professional life. I called Coach Sensor, who's sitting over there. And I asked for some help. I said, Coach, I'm interested in playing college lacrosse. As you know, I just started playing recently. I haven't had a bunch of exposure. And Coach asked me where I was applying to. And he said, no, you got to go to Haverford. It's where he went. And I remember looking at the Haverford College profile and looking at my transcript. And I said to myself, I didn't say to him, but I wondered if I quite fit the bill. But Coach Sensor believed in me, and he affirmed that I had a shot. And so, as I had done for the past 4 years at that point, I put my faith in the program and my coaches, and I listened to their advice. I remember working as hard as I could that fall of my junior year at West Town, earning a 3.8 GPA. And in only my second year there, being elected as a captain of the team as well. And so as the fall went on, I was more and more determined to succeed and to make my dream come true. I wrote the best essay that I could. I sent my transcript. I retook the SAT. And I remember applying and just waiting for a response. Coach Sensor told me to relax. It'll all work out. And I remember in November, I opened my phone and I had gotten an email from the Haverford College admissions office. And I closed my eyes before opening it. And when I opened the email, the first word that I saw was congratulations. Coach Sensor doesn't like to brag, but I'll brag for him. I was honored and happy to have the opportunity to play college lacrosse at the same program that my first Harlem lacrosse coach played lacrosse at himself. College became somewhat of a transitionary period of my life, and for what felt like the first time in a long time, I faced a lot of challenges. Suddenly, I wasn't one of the best performing students at the school, I wasn't the best person on the team, and I would have to figure it out. Until that point, I had become used to easy successes. I worked really hard, and the hard work paid off, but sometimes it didn't. And I learned another lesson going through college with my teammates who were sitting there at that table. I learned that instead of defining myself just by my successes, I would have opportunities to learn, grow, and define myself by my failures as well. Even when I fell short, there was always an opportunity to get up, and throughout those 4 years, I never did it alone. Those 4 years went by, and in the spring of 2023, I graduated as a first-generation college student and a proud alumni of the Haverford men's lacrosse team. And coming back to New York, a big question for me was, what comes next? I started my career, I got to spend time with my family, and I got to see my friends. But I came back to those fundamental questions that I had asked myself in 8th grade. How do I make a difference in the world? How do I give back? And over this past year, since graduating, I wrestled with that a lot until I realized that I had an answer to some of my questions right in front of me. My answer was with Harlem Lacrosse, the same program that had given me so much opportunity. I reached out to Coach Sensor pretty often, but a couple of months ago, and I had asked him for advice, as I always do. And he said, of course, but can you look at some kids' resumes? And can you talk to them about Haverford? Which I was happy to do. And I quickly realized that everything that I had asked for 10 years ago was now right here in front of me. As I think about my relationship with Harlem Lacrosse, before I had thought of myself as a player going through the program. But now, having graduated, I see that I get to be on the other side. I get to give back. Amongst myself, every year, there are more than 700 kids that go through the Harlem Lacrosse program with stories similar to mine. And each one is like a tiny ripple, but I know that over time, those tiny ripples will combine and create a big wave of change. For myself, I want to be the biggest part of that I can. As I think about the next steps in my life and my career, I can't tell you exactly what comes next, but I feel like how I did 10 years ago at that handball court at Frederick Douglass Academy. I had no clue what I was doing, but I had a great team around me. I had leaders to look up to, I had people next to me, and I had young kids to mentor. And now I'm in the same position, just off the field. Again, I'm honored to be here in this room with all of you tonight, and I want to say thank you again for being a part of a program that has done so much, not just for myself, but for all of my teammates. All of the efforts do make a difference, and as the alumni network of Harlem Lacrosse starts to grow, I'm happy to say that we're starting to give back.